The stars looked different today. Captain Zektar pressed his four-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of his ship and stared out at the empty space ahead. His crew had been traveling for weeks now, following a strange energy reading that appeared on their long-range sensors. The reading made no sense. It showed up as a massive power source in a part of space that all the star charts marked as empty. "Captain, we are getting close to the source," called out Navigator Yeath from her station. Her blue skin glowed softly in the dim light of the bridge. "The energy signature is getting stronger." Zektar walked over to look at her screen. The numbers dancing across the display made his stomach feel cold. Whatever was ahead of them was putting out more energy than most small stars, but their telescopes showed nothing but darkness. "Run a deep scan," he ordered. "I want to know what we are flying into." The Harmony's Edge was not a military ship. It belonged to the Galactic Survey Corps, and its job was to map new systems and look for planets that could support life. Zektar had been doing this work for 20 years, and he had never seen anything like the readings they were getting now. Engineer Kriksta looked up from his station, his insect-like eyes clicking with worry. "Captain, the energy patterns do not match anything in our database. This is not natural." "What do you mean, not natural?" "I mean someone or something built this. The energy flows in perfect geometric patterns. Nature does not work this way." Zektar felt his skin go cold. In all his years of space travel, he had learned that when something seemed impossible, it usually meant trouble was coming. "Take us closer, but keep the shields up," he said. "And make sure our jump drive is ready. If this goes bad, I want us out of here fast." The ship moved forward through the darkness. Space around them looked normal, but the energy readings kept getting stronger. Then, without warning, something appeared on their screens. "Captain," Yeath's voice was high with shock. "There is something ahead. It is huge." Zektar looked at the main screen and could not believe what he saw. Floating in space was a wall of shimmering energy that stretched as far as their sensors could reach. It looked like a giant soap bubble, but it was made of pure power. Inside the bubble, he could see the faint light of a star. "What is that thing?" whispered Science Officer Lumdar, her green tentacles moving nervously. "It appears to be some kind of containment field," Kriksta said, his voice full of wonder. "But the technology needed to build something this big. It is beyond anything we know." The energy barrier was enormous. It completely surrounded what looked like an entire star system. Zektar had never seen anything like it in all his years of space travel. "Check the star charts," he ordered. "What system is this supposed to be?" Yeath worked at her station for several minutes. When she looked up, her face was confused. "According to our charts, this area is marked as Sector 2847Q. It says the sector is empty and quarantined." "Quarantined? Why, the charts do not say. The quarantine order is very old. It has been in place for over 3,000 years. Zektar stared at the barrier. Someone had built this thing 3,000 years ago, and had hidden an entire star system inside it. But who had that kind of power? And why would they do it? "Sir," Lumdar called out, "I am picking up something strange. There are radio signals coming from inside the barrier." "Radio signals? Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. Primitive electromagnetic broadcasts. The kind that young civilizations use before they develop quantum communication." This was getting stranger by the minute. Why would someone seal away a primitive civilization? And how were they still alive after 3,000 years of isolation? "Can you translate the signals?" Lumdar worked at her station. "Some of them, yes. They appear to be entertainment broadcasts, music, stories, news reports. The beings inside call themselves humans and their world Earth." Zektar had never heard of humans before. But if they were still broadcasting, they were still alive. The question was, why had someone locked them away? "Take us around the barrier," he ordered. "I want to see if there are any weak spots." The Harmony's Edge flew along the edge of the massive energy field. It took them 6 hours to make a complete circle around it. The barrier was perfectly smooth and showed no signs of damage or weakness. Whatever technology had built, it was far beyond anything the current galactic civilization could create. As they completed their circle, something unexpected happened. The ship's quantum resonance scanner activated automatically. This scanner was used to find minerals and rare elements inside planets and asteroids. But when its beam hit the energy barrier, something went wrong. "Captain," Kriksta shouted, "the quantum scanner is causing some kind of feedback. The barrier is reacting to it. Shut it down." "I am trying, but it will not respond." The scanner beam hit the barrier and suddenly a section of the energy wall began to flicker. Colors that had no names danced across its surface. Then without warning, a hole appeared. It was only a few meters wide, but it was enough. The barrier is opening. Eth called out, "Get us away from here!" Zektar ordered, but it was too late. The hole in the barrier created a powerful suction effect. The Harmony's edge was pulled toward the opening like a leaf in a storm. Zektar grabbed onto his chair as the ship shook and twisted. "Hold on," he shouted. The ship shot through the hole in the barrier like a bullet. For a moment, everything went white. When their vision cleared, they found themselves inside the quarantined system. The first thing Zektar noticed was how normal everything looked. There was a yellow star, not too different from many others he had seen. Around it orbited several planets. The third planet from the star glowed blue and white, covered in water and clouds. "Damage report," he called out. "All systems working," Krixta replied. "But Captain, look at this. The hole in the barrier is closing." Zektar looked at the screen. The gap they had flown through was indeed getting smaller. Within minutes it sealed completely, leaving no trace that it had ever existed. "Are we trapped?" Lumdar asked. "Unknown," Zektar said. "First, let us figure out where we are and what we are dealing with." They turned their attention to the blue planet. It was clearly the source of the radio signals. As they watched, they could see lights on the dark side of the world. Cities, millions of them scattered across the continents. "Captain," Yith said, her voice full of amazement. "This world is covered in cities. The population must be in the billions." "After 3,000 years of isolation," Lumdar added. "How is that possible?" Zektar stared at the planet below. A civilization of billions cut off from the rest of the galaxy for 3 millennia. What kind of beings were these humans? And why had someone felt the need to lock them away? "Take us into orbit," he ordered. "But keep our distance. I want to observe before we make contact." As they approached the planet, their sensors picked up more details. The humans had built cities everywhere. They had roads and bridges spanning vast distances. They had flying machines moving through their atmosphere. For a species that had been isolated for 3,000 years, they seemed to be doing remarkably well. "Sir," Lumdar said, "I am detecting something unusual about this species. Their brain patterns are unlike anything in our database." "What do you mean?" "All known intelligent species show similar neural activity patterns. But these humans, their brains work differently. The patterns are more complex, more chaotic. It is almost like they think in multiple dimensions." Zektar did not like the sound of that. In his experience, species that thought differently often caused problems for everyone else. "Keep monitoring them," he said, "and start trying to decode more of their communications. I want to know what kind of civilization we are dealing with." Over the next few hours, they learned more about the humans. They were a young species, technologically speaking. They had only recently developed space travel and had not yet left their own star system. They seemed to spend much of their time fighting among themselves, but they also created amazing art and music. What puzzled Zektar most was how normal they seemed. If someone had felt the need to lock them away for 3,000 years, he had expected to find monsters or madmen. Instead, the humans seemed like any other young civilization trying to figure out their place in the universe. "Captain," Yith said, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans." "No, sir, from outside the barrier. It is a military frequency." Zektar's blood went cold. Someone knew they were here. "Put it through." The voice that came through their speakers was ancient and cold. It spoke in the old galactic language that was only used for official documents and historical records. "Survey vessel Harmony's Edge. You have violated the Terran containment protocol. Withdraw immediately or face severe consequences." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. "Captain," Krixta whispered, "that transmission came from coordinates that our sensors show as empty space." "Someone is out there using cloaking technology," Zektar said. "The question is, who are they and what do they want?" Before anyone could answer, their sensors detected something that made Zektar's heart skip a beat. Ships were appearing around the barrier. Not one or two, but dozens of them. They materialized out of nowhere, as if they had been hiding in the space between dimensions. The ships were unlike anything Zektar had ever seen. They were sleek and dark, with no obvious weapons or engines. They moved without making any energy signatures that his ship could detect. "Captain," Lumdar said, her voice barely above a whisper, "those ships are not in any database I can access. But the quantum signatures they are giving off, they are old. Very old. Another transmission came through. This time the voice was different. It sounded tired, as if it had been carrying a heavy burden for a very long time. Captain Zektar of the Altarian Republic, this is Archive Unit 7. You have stumbled into something beyond your understanding. The containment you have breached was put in place for the safety of all galactic civilization. Leave now and speak of this to no one. Who are you? Zektar demanded. What right do you have to quarantine an entire species? We are the Eternal Archive. We are the keepers of dangerous knowledge, and the beings you see below were sealed away because they nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Zektar looked down at the blue planet with its billions of inhabitants. They looked so normal, so harmless. How could beings like that threaten an entire galaxy? I do not understand. Understanding is not required. Only obedience. Leave now. But Zektar was a survey captain. His job was to explore and understand, not to run away from mysteries. And the biggest mystery of his career was floating below him. We need repairs before we can leave, he lied. Our passage through the barrier damaged our engines. There was a long pause. When the archive unit spoke again, its voice carried a note of warning. You have 48 hours. After that, your ship will be destroyed to protect the containment. The transmission ended. Zektar looked around at his crew. They all knew he had just bought them time with a lie. The question was, what were they going to do with it? Sir, Lumdar said quietly. What are your orders? Zektar stared down at the planet Earth. Somewhere down there, billions of humans lived their lives with no idea that the rest of the galaxy existed. They had been prisoners for 3,000 years and they did not even know it. We are going to find out the truth, he said. Even if it kills us. The emergency meeting took place in a room that most galactic citizens never knew existed. Deep beneath the capital city of New Geneva on the planet Centauri Prime, representatives from 12 major galactic powers sat around a circular table. The room had no windows and was protected by shields that could stop a nuclear bomb. Ambassador Kelthara of the Vagan Confederacy spoke first. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook as she held the datapad. 3 days ago, survey ship Harmony's Edge breached the Terran containment protocol. They are currently inside the barrier, in direct contact with the sealed population. Ambassador Vordem from the Crystalline Empire leaned forward. His rocky face showed no emotion, but his voice carried worry. How is this possible? The archive units were supposed to make sure this never happened. According to the archive, it was an accident. The survey ship's quantum scanner created a resonance that weakened the barrier temporarily. An accident, repeated Admiral Thexmore of the Rigel Defense Force. 3,000 years of perfect containment, and it fails because of an accident. In the corner of the room, a hologram flickered to life. It showed the image of an ancient artificial intelligence, one of the archive units that had maintained the quarantine for millennia. The containment remains stable, the AI said in its emotionless voice. The breach was temporary and has been sealed. However, the survey vessel remains inside the barrier. Can you remove them? Asked Ambassador Kelthara. Not without risking further damage to the containment. The barrier technology is delicate. Any attempt to force entry or exit could cause a complete failure. The room fell silent. Everyone at the table knew what a complete failure would mean. They had all read the classified historical records. They knew what had happened the last time humans had been free to roam the galaxy. What is the current status of the Terran population? Asked Fordham. Stable at approximately 8 billion individuals. They have developed industrial technology, but have not yet achieved faster-than-light travel. They remain unaware of galactic civilization. 8 billion, whispered Admiral Thexmore. When they were sealed, there were only a few million left. The species has shown remarkable recovery capabilities, the archive unit confirmed. This was expected. Ambassador Kelthara looked around the table. We need to discuss what happens if the containment fails completely. What are our options? The same options we had 3,000 years ago, said Admiral Thexmore grimly. Total extermination or total surrender. Meanwhile, far above the secret meeting, Dr. Sarah Chen was having the most important conversation of her life. She stood in the observation deck of the International Space Station, looking down at Earth while talking to beings from another star. You were saying that other intelligent life exists in the galaxy? She asked for the third time. Her mind was still struggling to accept what Captain Zektar was telling her. Yes, Dr. Chen. Hundreds of species across thousands of worlds. We have been trying to explore and understand the universe for a very long time. Sarah pressed her hand against the window. Earth looked so peaceful from here, so isolated. And you just happened to find us. It was an accident. We were following an energy reading when we discovered the barrier around your solar system. Barrier? What barrier? Captain Zektar's image on the communication screen looked uncomfortable. Dr. Chen, your entire solar system is surrounded by an energy field. It has kept you isolated from the rest of the galaxy for thousands of years. Sarah felt dizzy. That is impossible. Our telescopes would have detected something like that. The barrier is designed to be invisible from the inside. You see space as it appears to be, but you cannot leave and others cannot enter. Who built it? Why, there was a long pause. We do not know yet, but we are trying to find out. Sarah looked down at Earth again. 8 billion people living their lives, having no idea they were prisoners in their own solar system. The thought made her feel sick. Captain Zektar, are we in danger? Another pause. I hope not, Dr. Chen. But there are others out here who seem very interested in making sure you stay isolated. The conversation was interrupted by Dr. James Morrison, Sarah's colleague and the head of the space station's research team. His face was pale as he hurried into the observation deck. Sarah, we have a problem. Every radio telescope on Earth is picking up the same signal. What kind of signal? It is coming from just outside our solar system. Someone is broadcasting directly to Earth in over 200 human languages. Sarah's blood went cold. What does the message say? James handed her a tablet with the translation. As Sarah read it, her hands began to shake. People of Earth, this is Archive Unit 12 of the Eternal Archive. For your own safety and the safety of all galactic civilization, you must not attempt to leave your solar system. Any efforts to develop faster-than-light travel or to contact the survey vessel currently in your system will result in severe consequences. Remain on your world. Do not attempt to explore space beyond your solar system. This is for your own protection. Sarah stared at the message. They are threatening us. It gets worse, James said. The message is being broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. Every radio, television, and communication device on Earth is receiving it. There's no way to block it. Down on Earth, the message was causing panic. In New York, people poured out of buildings as every screen in Times Square displayed the same text. In London, the BBC interrupted all programming to broadcast the alien message. In Tokyo, the government called an emergency meeting of world leaders. President Martinez stood in the Oval Office, surrounded by his top advisors. General Patterson, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was on the phone with military commanders around the world, sir. The general said, our satellites are detecting massive energy signatures just outside the solar system. Whatever is out there is bigger than anything we have ever built. Are they hostile? The president asked. Unknown, but the message suggests they do not want us leaving Earth. Secretary of State Williams looked up from her tablet. Mr. President, we are receiving similar reports from every nation on Earth. The message is being broadcast globally. There is no way to stop it. President Martinez walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, alien beings were telling humanity to stay home. The question was, what would happen if they refused? Back on the Harmony's edge, Captain Zektar was dealing with his own crisis. His ship's communication system had been flooded with transmissions from the archive units, and none of them were friendly. Captain, Science Officer Lumdar called out. The archive ships are moving closer. They are forming a perimeter around us. How many ships are out there now? 47 that we can detect. But based on the energy readings, there may be more using advanced cloaking technology. Engineer Kriksta looked up from his station. Sir, I'm detecting something strange about those ships. Their technology is far beyond anything I have seen before. The energy patterns do not match any known galactic civilization. What do you mean? I mean these ships are not built by any species currently in the galactic database. The technology is thousands of years more advanced than anything we know. Navigator Yith suddenly called out from her station. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. It is Dr. Chen. Zektar opened the channel. Sarah's face appeared on the screen and she looked worried. Captain Zektar, something is happening down here. The beings calling themselves the Archive are broadcasting threats to our entire planet. They are telling us not to leave our solar system. I know, Dr. Chen. They have been sending us similar messages. Who are they? What do they want? We are still trying to figure that out. But I think they are the ones who built the barrier around your system. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Captain, I need to ask you something. Are we dangerous? Is there something about humans that makes these archive beings want to keep us locked away? Zektar looked around his bridge. His crew was listening to every word. The question Dr. Chen was asking was the same one they had all been thinking. I do not know, he said honestly, but I intend to find out. There is something else, Sarah said. Since you arrived, strange things have been happening on Earth. People are reporting unusual experiences, dreams that feel more real than reality. Some individuals claim they can sense things that are not there. What kind of things? I am not sure how to explain it. It is like they can feel the space around them in ways that should not be possible. One man in California says he can sense the barrier you mentioned, even though our instruments cannot detect it. Lumdar suddenly looked up from her station. Captain, I am picking up unusual neural activity from the planet's surface. The brain patterns I detected earlier are becoming more active. More active how? The complex neural patterns I observed are spreading. It started with a few thousand individuals, but now millions of humans are showing similar brain activity. Zektar felt a chill run down his spine. Whatever was happening to the humans, it was happening fast. Dr. Chen, he said, I think you need to gather information about these unusual experiences people are having. Document everything. If the archive is trying to keep your species contained, there might be a reason. You think we might be dangerous? I think you might be more than anyone realizes. The transmission ended, leaving Zektar alone with his thoughts. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel their fear. They were trapped inside a quarantine zone with 8 billion beings that someone had felt the need to lock away for 3,000 years. Captain, Krixta said quietly, what are your orders? Zektar looked at the blue planet floating below them. Whatever secrets Earth held, he was going to find them, even if it meant defying the most powerful force in the galaxy. We stay, he said, and we learn the truth. In the depths of space, the archive units received his decision and began to prepare for what they had hoped would never come. The quarantine that had held for 3 millennia was beginning to fail, and the galaxy was about to remember why humans had been sealed away in the first place. But this time, the humans were different. They had evolved during their isolation, grown stronger and more numerous. What the archive feared most was about to be proven true. The children of Earth were awakening, and they were nothing like the beings that had been locked away so long ago. The real question was whether the galaxy would survive their return. The archive unit, designated as Primary Keeper, floated in the darkness between dimensions, its ancient consciousness weighing a decision that could reshape the galaxy. For 3,000 years it had maintained perfect silence about the true history of the Terran species. Now, with quarantine failure becoming more likely each day, the time for secrets was ending. Around the barrier surrounding Earth's solar system, representatives from 47 galactic civilizations had gathered. Their ships formed a massive fleet, all waiting for answers that only the archive could provide. The pressure was becoming too great to resist. Archive Unit Primary, transmitted Admiral Thexmore from his flagship. The Galactic Council demands a full historical briefing. We cannot make informed decisions about the human situation without knowing what we are dealing with. The Primary Keeper processed the request for the 10,000th time in the past hour. Its memory banks contained records that most of the galaxy's current civilizations had never seen. Records of a time when humans had walked among the stars as equals, before they had become something far more terrifying. Very well. The archive unit finally responded. Prepare your ships to receive historical data packet Omega-7. Be warned, this information has been classified at the highest levels for good reason. Across the fleet, data officers prepared to receive what would become the most shocking intelligence briefing in galactic history. The first image that appeared on their screen showed a beautiful, blue-green world covered in sprawling cities that seemed to grow like living things. Spires of crystal and metal reached toward the sky, connected by bridges that defied gravity. Ships that looked more like works of art than vehicles moved gracefully through the atmosphere. This is Earth as it appeared 3,047 years ago, the archive unit narrated. At that time, humans were members of the Galactic Council. They were considered one of the most advanced and peaceful civilizations in known space. Admiral Thexmore leaned forward in his command chair. The world on the screen looked nothing like the primitive planet they had been observing. What happened to their technology? The humans abandoned it voluntarily. This recording was made during what they called the Great Simplification. a period when they chose to reduce their technological dependence in favor of developing their natural abilities. The scene changed to show humans in simple clothing standing in vast gardens. But as the recording continued, something extraordinary became visible. The humans were manipulating their environment without any tools. Plants grew at their touch. Water flowed upward when they gestured. Most shocking of all, some humans appeared to be moving objects, with their thoughts alone. Impossible, whispered Commander Yultar of the Andromedan fleet. That violates the fundamental laws of physics. Human consciousness operates on quantum levels that other species cannot achieve, the archive unit explained. They can perceive and manipulate the quantum substrate that underlies all reality. To them, what you call the laws of physics are more like suggestions. The recording shifted to show humans leaving Earth in ships that seemed to bend space around them. These vessels moved without engines, directed purely by the will of their crews. They traveled to distant worlds and transformed barren planets into gardens with nothing but focused thought. They were explorers and builders, the archive continued. For nearly 1,000 years, humans helped develop countless worlds. They taught other species how to grow food in impossible environments, and how to heal diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia. They were beloved throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Kelthara felt a chill in her heart. Then what went wrong? The recording changed dramatically. Now it showed massive ships of unknown design attacking human colonies. Entire worlds burned as strange weapons turned cities to ash. The beautiful crystal spires of human civilization crumbled under assault from beings that seemed to emerge from the void itself. The Devourers arrived without warning, the archive unit said, its mechanical voice somehow conveying ancient sadness. They were entities from a parallel dimension where reality operates under different rules. They fed on the quantum energy that makes up the foundation of our universe. The images became more terrible. Whole star systems simply vanished, leaving behind empty space where planets and stars had once existed. The attackers were barely visible, appearing as shifting shadows that seemed to eat light itself. The Devourers could not be fought with conventional weapons, the archive continued. Lasers passed through them. Nuclear weapons had no effect. Only quantum manipulation could harm them, and among galactic civilizations only humans possessed that ability naturally. The recording showed human defenders making their stand. Men and women in simple clothes stood against nightmares from beyond reality. They fought with their minds and wills, unmaking devourer ships with focused thought. Space itself seemed to bend around the human defenders as they battled for the survival of all galactic life. The war lasted 3 years, the archive unit said. Billions died on both sides. Entire civilizations were erased from existence. But slowly, the humans began to win. Their abilities grew stronger under the pressure of survival. They learned to not just manipulate reality, but to rewrite it entirely. The final images of the war were the most disturbing. Human warriors no longer looked entirely human. They moved through space without ships, their bodies adapting to survive in environments that should have killed them instantly. When they gestured, Devourer fleets simply ceased to exist. The humans saved the galaxy, Admiral Thexmore said quietly. They were heroes. Yes, the archive unit agreed. Until they became something else entirely. The recording jumped forward several months. Earth appeared on screen again, but it was wrong somehow. The beautiful crystal cities were gone, replaced by structures that hurt to look at directly. They seemed to exist in too many dimensions at once, creating optical illusions that made viewers dizzy. The war changed them, the archive explained. Prolonged use of their abilities at such intensity caused an evolution. They became beings of pure quantum consciousness, able to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. They were no longer entirely human. The most disturbing part was still to come. The recording showed these evolved humans arriving at worlds throughout the galaxy, but they were not the same peaceful explorers who had left Earth centuries before. Now they moved with purpose that seemed alien and frightening. They began what they called the correction, the archive unit said. Having seen how easily the Devourers had invaded their reality, the humans decided that the universe needed to be improved. The images showed human quantum beings reshaping entire worlds without asking permission. Primitive species were advanced overnight, their evolution accelerated by thousands of years in minutes. Advanced civilizations found their technology changed in ways they did not understand. They thought they were helping, the archive continued. but they had lost the ability to understand how terrifying they had become to normal biological beings. A human could alter your DNA with a thought. They could change your planet's gravity or atmosphere if they decided it would be better for you. Commander Yultar's face had gone pale. They were remaking the galaxy in their image, not intentionally, but their definition of improvement was based on their own evolution. They could not understand why other species were afraid of changes that seemed beneficial to them. The recording showed the growing panic throughout galactic civilization. Entire star systems were evacuating as humans approached. Some species tried to fight, but how do you battle beings who can rewrite reality itself? The breaking point came when the humans decided to correct the Altarian Republic, the archive unit said. The recording showed Captain Zektar's home system, but as it had appeared 3,000 years ago. Altarian cities were beautiful crystalline structures that existed in perfect harmony with their planet's natural environment. The Altarians themselves were a peaceful people who had spent millennia perfecting their art and philosophy. Then the humans arrived. The recording showed reality itself bending around Altari Prime. The planet's surface began changing, becoming something that would better support what the humans believed was optimal life. Mountains moved, oceans drained and refilled. The very air changed composition to what human science said was most healthy, but the Altarians were dying. Their bodies could not adapt fast enough to the changes. Within days, billions of people were suffocating in air that was technically better for them, but which their lungs could not process. They were not trying to harm us, the archive unit said quietly, but they had become so far beyond normal biological existence that they could not understand the damage they were causing. The final recording was the most terrible of all. It showed the last great battle of the Quantum Wars, as historians would later call the conflict. The combined fleets of 40 civilizations surrounded Earth's solar system. They had come not to destroy humanity, but to plead with them to stop. The human response was swift and devastating. Reality twisted around the attacking fleets. Ships designed to survive the heart of stars simply ceased to exist. Crews found themselves transported to dimensions where the laws of physics killed them instantly. Within hours, the greatest military force in galactic history was reduced to scattered atoms. They did not understand that we were trying to communicate, the archive unit said. To beings who existed partially outside normal reality, our approach looked like an attack. They defended themselves the only way they knew how. But then something unexpected happened. The recording showed humans on Earth suddenly stopping their assault. For long minutes, they seemed to be having an intense discussion among themselves. Finally, one of them reached out across space with their consciousness and spoke directly into the minds of every survivor in the attacking fleet. The voice was beautiful and terrible, carrying harmonics that normal vocal cords could never produce. We understand now, it said. We have become what we fought to prevent. We are the devourers, consuming reality and remaking it without permission. This must end. What happened next was the most remarkable act of self-sacrifice in recorded history. The humans began to build their own prison. Using their quantum abilities, they constructed a barrier that would contain them in their solar system. They locked themselves away from the galaxy they had tried to save. The barrier was designed to contain their abilities, the archive unit explained. Any human born within it would be unable to access their species' quantum powers. They would live normal biological lives, forgetting what their ancestors had become. The recording showed the final moments of the old Earth. The evolved humans walked into a strange machine they had built, and one by one, they allowed it to strip away their quantum consciousness. They chose to become ordinary biological beings again, sacrificing their godlike powers to protect the galaxy from their good intentions. The last message they sent was simple, the archive unit said. Forgive us and do not let us become this again. The historical briefing ended, leaving the gathered fleet in stunned silence. For several minutes, no one spoke as they processed what they had learned. Finally, Admiral Thexmore broke the silence. So the humans we see on Earth now are descendants of beings who voluntarily gave up the power of gods to protect us from themselves. Correct. But Admiral, there is something you must understand. The quantum abilities were not eliminated. They were merely suppressed. The barrier that contains the humans also acts as a pressure vessel, concentrating their dormant powers. Commander Yultar felt his blood go cold. What are you saying? I am saying that the humans currently isolated on Earth are potentially more powerful than their ancestors who fought the Devourers. 3,000 years of evolution under quantum pressure has created a generation of humans whose abilities could exceed anything previously recorded. The implications hit the assembled fleet like a physical blow. If the barrier failed completely, if the humans remembered what they were capable of, the galaxy might face beings more powerful than the gods who had voluntarily imprisoned themselves. "What do we do?" asked Ambassador Kelthera. The archive unit was quiet for a long time before answering. "We pray that they have learned wisdom along with power, because if they have not, there may be no force in the universe capable of stopping them this time." In the distance, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that its children were about to inherit abilities that could reshape reality itself. The question was, would they use those powers to protect the galaxy, or would history repeat itself in ways too terrible to imagine? Marcus Torres had been having the dreams for 3 days now. They were not normal dreams. They were too real, too vivid, filled with images of impossible things that his mind somehow understood perfectly. In these dreams, he could see space itself as if it were made of flowing water. He could reach out and touch the fabric of reality, feel its texture between his fingers like silk. Marcus was a former Marine who had served 3 tours in Afghanistan before retiring to become a construction worker in Los Angeles. He was not the kind of man who believed in supernatural things. But the dreams were becoming impossible to ignore, especially when things from the dreams started happening in real life. It began small. On Monday, he had dreamed about bending metal with his bare hands. On Tuesday, he accidentally crushed a steel pipe at the construction site. His supervisor had stared in amazement as Marcus held up the twisted metal, unsure how he had done it. "Just adrenaline, I guess," Marcus had said. But he knew that was not true. By Wednesday, the dreams were showing him how to do things that should have been impossible. He saw himself moving objects without touching them, healing injuries with a thought, and most disturbing of all, making things simply disappear from existence. Then came Thursday morning, and everything changed. Marcus was working on the 42nd floor of a new office building when the world suddenly became too much. The noise of the city below, the conversations of his coworkers, even the vibrations of machinery 3 floors down, he could sense all of it at once. It was as if every sense he had ever possessed had been amplified 1,000-fold. "You okay, Torres?" called out his foreman, Jimmy Valdez. "You look pale." Marcus tried to answer, but the words got stuck in his throat. He could see Jimmy not just as a man standing 10 feet away, but as a complex pattern of energy and matter held together by forces that most people could not even name. Worse, he could sense how fragile those patterns were, how easily they could be changed or destroyed. "I need some air," Marcus managed to say, stumbling toward the elevator. But as he walked, something went wrong. His foot passed through what should have been solid concrete floor. For a terrifying moment, Marcus found himself falling through the building, dropping through floors and walls as if they were made of smoke. He hit the ground floor with a crash that should have killed him. Instead, he found himself standing in the lobby, completely unharmed, surrounded by shocked construction workers and security guards. "How did you get here?" asked the security chief. The elevator never moved. Marcus looked up at the ceiling. 42 floors above, he could hear Jimmy calling his name. There was no way he could have reached the ground floor that fast, and definitely no way he should have survived falling through solid matter. "I don't know," he said honestly. What Marcus did not know was that similar incidents were happening all over Earth. In Tokyo, a young woman named Yuki Tanaka was discovering that she could heal injuries by touching them. A cut on her hand had closed completely after she focused on it for just a few seconds. More disturbing, when her grandmother had suffered a heart attack, Yuki's touch had somehow restored the elderly woman's heart to perfect health. In London, Dr. Raj Patel was experiencing temporal anomalies. Time seemed to slow down around him when he was stressed, giving him what felt like hours to think during moments that lasted only seconds. During a difficult surgery, he had watched the patient's heart stop and somehow reached into the flow of time itself to restart it before the damage could become permanent. In Moscow, artist Anya Volkov was painting pictures that showed the future. Her latest canvas depicted a massive alien fleet surrounding Earth. Though she had no conscious knowledge of the ships gathering outside the solar system, All around the world, humans were awakening to abilities they had never known they possessed. But for most, the awakening was gradual and subtle. For Marcus Torres, it was happening all at once, and he was losing control. Dr. Sarah Chen had been tracking these incidents for the past week. As one of Earth's leading experts on human consciousness, she had been contacted by colleagues around the world reporting similar cases. The patterns were becoming impossible to ignore. She was in her laboratory at MIT when Captain Zektar contacted her with disturbing news. Dr. Chen, the alien captain said, his image appearing on her secure communication screen, our sensors are detecting massive changes in human brain activity. The quantum signatures we observed earlier are becoming exponentially stronger. How much stronger? Sarah asked, though she was afraid of the answer. In the past week, the readings have increased by a factor of 10,000. Whatever is happening to your species, it is accelerating. Sarah looked at the data she had been collecting. Reports of unusual incidents were coming in from every continent. Governments were starting to take notice, though most were still trying to explain the events through conventional means. Captain, I need to ask you something. Is it possible that contact with your ship triggered these changes? There was a pause. We have been wondering the same thing. Your people have been isolated for 3,000 years. It is possible that exposure to outside quantum fields has destabilized whatever was suppressing your natural abilities. The implications were terrifying. If humanity's powers were returning, and if the ancient records were accurate, then Earth was about to become the most dangerous place in the galaxy. There is something else, Zektar continued. The archive units are becoming more agitated. They are sending increasingly urgent warnings about the need to reinforce the containment. What happens if they decide the containment has failed? Based on their historical behavior, they will attempt to eliminate the threat entirely. Sarah felt her blood go cold. You mean they would destroy Earth? It is a possibility we must consider. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from Dr. Morrison at the International Space Station. His face appeared on a second screen and he looked terrified. Sarah, you need to see this. We are tracking an individual in Los Angeles who is generating quantum signatures unlike anything we have ever recorded. Who is it? A construction worker named Marcus Torres. According to our readings, he is beginning to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Sarah's hands began to shake. Multiple dimensional states was exactly what the ancient records described about the evolved humans who had fought the Devourers. Where is he now? He was last seen at Los Angeles General Hospital. Apparently he is trying to help earthquake victims, but... Morrison paused, looking at his readings in disbelief. Sarah, he is healing people by touching them. Severe injuries are becoming minor cuts. Brain damage is reversing itself. But that is not the worst part. What is the worst part? Every person he heals is beginning to show quantum signatures too. Whatever is happening to him, he is spreading it to others. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Marcus Torres was living through the most confusing day of his life. After his impossible fall through the office building, he had been taken to the hospital for observation. But when he saw the crowded emergency room filled with victims from a morning earthquake, he had felt compelled to help. The first person he touched was a little girl with a broken arm. He had only meant to comfort her, but the moment his hand made contact with her cast, he felt something flow out of him. The cast cracked and fell away, revealing a perfectly healed arm underneath. "Mommy, my arm does not hurt anymore," the girl had said in wonder. Word spread quickly through the hospital. Soon, Marcus found himself surrounded by injured people begging for his help. He did not understand what was happening to him, but he could not turn away from their pain. Each person he touched was healed completely. Burns disappeared. Broken bones mended instantly. A man who had been paralyzed from the waist down stood up and walked away. But Marcus was beginning to notice something disturbing. After he healed them, the people he had touched seemed different. They moved with more confidence, as if they suddenly understood something about the world that they had not known before. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the head of emergency medicine, watched in amazement as Marcus healed her 20th patient of the day. She was a rational woman who believed in science and evidence, but what she was seeing defied all explanation. "Mr. Torres," she said carefully, "how are you doing this?" Marcus looked at his hands. They appeared normal, but he could see energy flowing through them like rivers of light. "I honestly do not know, Doc. I just touch them and think about making them better, and they get better. This is not medically possible." "I know, but it is happening anyway. Dr. Rodriguez was about to ask another question when something extraordinary occurred. Marcus suddenly stiffened, his eyes rolling back in his head. For a moment, he seemed to be looking at something far away. "There are ships," he said in a voice that did not sound entirely his own. "So many ships. They are afraid of us. Ships? What ships?" Marcus blinked and his eyes refocused. "I do not know. I just saw darkness and fear. Someone is very afraid of what we might become." At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the hospital. Dr. Rodriguez looked at her pager and saw an emergency message from the CDC. "Attention all medical facilities. Unexplained healing incidents reported worldwide. Individuals demonstrating impossible recovery. Rates, isolate and monitor, do not allow healed individuals to leave medical facilities." Dr. Rodriguez looked around her emergency room. Half of her patients had been healed by Marcus's touch, and they were all staring at the exits with expressions of sudden understanding. "Doctor," said the little girl whose arm Marcus had healed first. Her voice sounded older than her 8 years. "We need to leave now. They are coming to take us away." "Who is coming?" The girl pointed upward. "The scared ones. They think we are dangerous." Outside the hospital, black SUVs were already pulling up to the entrances. Men in military uniforms and hazmat suits were getting out, carrying equipment that looked more like weapons than medical devices. Marcus felt something building inside him, a pressure that seemed to come from the fabric of space itself. He could sense the fear radiating from the approaching soldiers, their certainty that he and the people he had healed represented a threat that needed to be contained. But more than that, he could sense something else. Far above Earth, beyond the atmosphere, other minds were watching. Ancient minds filled with memories of what humans had once been capable of. They were preparing to make a terrible decision about the future of his species. Marcus looked around the emergency room at the people he had healed. Men, women, and children who had come to the hospital broken and were now whole. They were all looking at him with expressions of trust and hope. "Dr. Rodriguez," he said quietly, "I think we are about to find out just how dangerous we really are." As if in response to his words, the building began to shake. But it was not an earthquake. It was the quantum barriers that had contained humanity for 3 millennia, beginning to crack under the pressure of 8 billion awakening minds. The children of Earth were remembering what they were, and the galaxy was about to learn whether they had inherited their ancestors' wisdom, along with their terrible power. The moment of awakening came not with fanfare but with silence. Across Earth, 8 billion human minds suddenly stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. In New York, a stockbroker put down his phone in the middle of a $1 million deal. In Beijing, a surgeon paused with her scalpel halfway through an operation. In São Paulo, children stopped playing in schoolyards and turned their faces toward the heavens. They could all sense it now. The barrier that had contained them was failing, and beyond it lay a galaxy full of minds paralyzed by fear. Marcus Torres stood in the parking lot of Los Angeles General Hospital, surrounded by the people he had healed and the soldiers who had come to take them away. But the soldiers had stopped moving. Their weapons hung forgotten in their hands as they stared upward with the same expression of sudden understanding that had appeared on every human face on Earth. "Can you feel them?" asked Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who no longer seemed surprised by impossible things. "All those minds out there so afraid of us?" Marcus nodded. The quantum awakening had not just given him the ability to heal or phase through matter. It had connected him to something vast and ancient, the collective consciousness of humanity that had been sleeping for 3,000 years. "They think we are monsters," he said quietly. "They remember what our ancestors became, and they believe we will make the same mistakes." High above Earth's atmosphere, the assembled galactic fleet received confirmation of their worst fears. Every sensor array, every quantum detector, every consciousness monitoring device was screaming the same message. The humans were awakening, and their power signatures were already beyond anything previously recorded. Admiral Thexmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching readouts that made no scientific sense. "Are you certain these numbers are accurate?" "Yes, sir," his science officer replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "The quantum output from Earth's surface has increased by a factor of 1 million in the past hour. At this rate, individual humans will soon possess reality manipulation abilities that exceed those of their ancestors." "How is that possible?" 3,000 years of evolution under quantum pressure, Admiral. It appears the barrier has not just contained them. It has compressed their abilities like a spring. Now that spring is releasing. Archive Unit Primary spoke from its position near the fleet's perimeter. Admiral, we strongly recommend immediate implementation of Protocol 7. Admiral Thexmore felt his blood turn to ice. Protocol 7 was total planetary sterilization. The complete destruction of Earth and everything on it. There are 8 billion sentient beings down there, he said. There are 8 billion potential reality shapers down there, the Archive Unit corrected. Each one capable of unmaking star systems with a thought. The risk is unacceptable. But before Admiral Thexmore could respond, something unprecedented happened. A voice spoke directly into the minds of every sentient being in the fleet. It was not transmitted through communication systems or broadcast on any frequency. It simply appeared in their consciousness like a thought that was not their own. The voice was calm, warm, and undeniably human. Please do not be afraid, it said. We know what you are thinking. We know what you fear, and we understand why. Panic spread through the fleet as crews realized their mental defenses had been penetrated without any effort at all. If the humans could reach into their minds this easily, what else could they do? My name is Sarah Chen, the voice continued. I speak for all of humanity, and I have a message for you. We remember now. We remember what we were, what we did, and why you locked us away. We remember the fear in your ancestors' minds as they watched us remake worlds without permission. We remember the horror as civilizations died because we thought we knew better than the universe itself. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her laboratory at MIT, but she was no longer entirely present in the physical world. Her consciousness had expanded beyond the confines of her body, connecting with every human mind on the planet, and reaching out to touch the thoughts of beings millions of miles away. We remember the Devourers, she continued, her mental voice reaching across space. We remember how they invaded our reality and fed on the quantum substrate of existence itself. We remember how we changed ourselves to fight them, becoming beings of pure consciousness who could rewrite the laws of physics with a thought. The images began flowing from her mind to theirs. Not words or pictures, but direct experience. Every being in the galactic fleet suddenly found themselves living through humanity's memories as if they were their own. They felt the terror of the first Devourer attack. When entire star systems simply vanished from existence, they experienced the desperate transformation as humans evolved beyond biological limitations to battle entities from outside reality. They lived through the horror of watching civilizations they were trying to help die, because human definitions of improvement were incompatible with normal biological existence. We became the very thing we fought, Sarah's voice explained as the memories continued. We became devourers of reality, consuming and remaking everything according to our will. We lost the ability to understand that other beings might not want to be improved, might not want to be changed, might prefer their own flawed existence to our perfect modifications. The memories shifted to show the moment of terrible realization. When the evolved humans finally understood what they had become, the fleet experienced the anguish of a species recognizing that their good intentions had made them monsters. So we made a choice, Sarah continued. We chose to sacrifice our godhood to protect you from our love. We built a prison for ourselves and locked away our abilities, hoping that distance and time would teach us wisdom. Admiral Thexmore found himself weeping as he experienced the final memory, the moment when humanity's quantum gods willingly surrendered their power and submitted to biological limitations. Now we have awakened. Again, Sarah's voice said, and we face the same choice our ancestors did. We could use our abilities to reshape the galaxy according to our vision. We could eliminate poverty, disease, and death. We could force peace upon warring species and accelerate the evolution of primitive civilizations. We could become the benevolent gods we always believed ourselves to be. The pause that followed was filled with such tension that several crew members in the fleet fainted from the pressure. But we will not, Sarah said firmly, because we have learned what our ancestors could not understand. The universe does not need us to fix it. Suffering, struggle, and imperfection are not flaws to be corrected. They are essential parts of existence. The right to choose your own path, even if that path leads to failure, is more sacred than any improvement we could impose. Around the fleet, weapons that had been charging for a preemptive strike began powering down as their operators found themselves unable to target a world full of beings who had just demonstrated more wisdom than most ancient civilizations. Instead, Sarah continued, we offer you something different. We offer to be your guardians against the true threat that still exists. New images began flowing from her mind. Space twisted and warped as dimensional barriers weakened. In the darkness between realities, ancient hungers stirred. The Devourers had not been destroyed 3,000 years ago. They had merely been driven back to their own dimension. Now, with the quantum barrier around Earth failing, the walls between realities were becoming thin again. They are returning, Sarah said. We can sense them gathering in the spaces between dimensions. The same entities that nearly destroyed the galaxy before are preparing for another invasion, and this time, they are hungrier and more numerous than before. Archive Unit Primary processed this information and felt something approaching panic. Confirmed, it transmitted to the fleet. Long-range dimensional sensors are detecting massive quantum disturbances in parallel space. Multiple reality-feeding entities are approaching the barriers between dimensions. The difference, Sarah said, is that this time, you will not face them alone. We offer to become the galaxy's shield against things that should not exist. We will guard the borders of reality itself, using our abilities only to protect, never to improve or change. Marcus Torre, still standing in the hospital parking lot, felt the weight of Sarah's words settling into his consciousness. Around him, the other awakened humans nodded in understanding. They could all sense the vast responsibility being offered, and the terrible cost of accepting it. We ask for nothing in return, Sarah continued. No worship, no gratitude, no recognition. We ask only for the chance to redeem our ancestors' mistakes by doing what they should have done. Protecting without controlling. Guarding without ruling. Admiral Thexmore looked around his bridge at crew members who were openly weeping. The choice before them was clear. They could attempt to destroy a species that had just demonstrated moral evolution beyond anything in recorded history. Or they could trust them to keep a promise that would require eternal vigilance and sacrifice. There is one condition, Sarah added. We must be watched. We accept permanent monitoring by the archive units and any other observers you choose to assign. If we ever begin to use our abilities for purposes other than defense against extra-dimensional threats, if we ever start to improve civilizations without invitation, you have our permission to destroy us completely. The mental contact began to fade as Sarah withdrew her consciousness back to Earth. But her final words echoed in every mind throughout the fleet. We were locked away for 3,000 years to learn wisdom. We hope we have learned well enough to earn your trust. But if we have not, we understand that the galaxy's safety must come before our redemption. The silence that followed lasted for nearly an hour. Finally, Admiral Thexmore opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Thexmore. Stand down from attack positions. We're going to try something that has never been attempted in galactic history. We are going to trust a species of reality shapers to keep their word. Archive Unit Primary's response was immediate. Admiral, this decision may result in the destruction of all galactic civilization. Yes, the Admiral agreed. But destroying them ourselves would result in the destruction of our souls. Sometimes primary, the greatest risk is worth taking for the greatest hope. On Earth, humanity began the process of learning to use abilities they had possessed all along, but they did so with purpose and restraint, focusing not on what they could accomplish but on what they should prevent. In the spaces between realities, ancient hungers stirred and began testing the barriers that separated dimensions. They would find those barriers guarded by beings who had chosen wisdom over power, protection over domination. The children of Earth had awakened, and they had chosen to become not gods but guardians. Whether the galaxy would survive the choice remained to be seen, but for the first time in 3,000 years, there was hope that love guided by wisdom might prove stronger than power guided by fear. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see if humanity's second chance would end in redemption or in the final devastation of all that existed. But in the depths of space where darkness gathered and hungered, the devourers found their path blocked by minds that burned with protective fury, and hearts that had learned the hardest lesson of all, that true strength lies not in the power to change the world, but in the wisdom to know when not to use that power at all. Lisa Gordon stared at the screen in front of her. The numbers didn't make sense. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again. For the past 3 nights, she had stayed late at NASA's Deep Space Tracking Station, following a strange pattern she had noticed. Now she was sure. "Someone call the director," she said to the nearly empty room. "We're not alone." At first, no one took her seriously. Strange signals happened all the time. Usually they turned out to be equipment errors or known space objects moving in unusual ways, but Lisa was different. In her 15 years at NASA, she had never raised a false alarm. Director Frank Murray arrived an hour later, his face showing both sleep deprivation and concern. "Show me," he said simply. Lisa pointed to her screen. "These radiation patterns are artificial. They're moving too precisely, slowing down in a controlled manner, and they're headed directly toward us." Frank studied the data, then made a call. Within 24 hours, every major space agency on Earth confirmed Lisa's discovery. Something was approaching Earth from deep space, slowing down in a way that natural objects never could. The United Earth Defense Council met in emergency session 3 days later. Admiral Alan Carter, who had led Earth's combined space forces for 8 years, stood before the world's leaders. "We are tracking 7 large objects approaching Earth," he said calmly, though his eyes revealed his concern. "Their technology appears far beyond our own. They will reach Earth orbit in approximately 12 days. The room erupted in questions and concerns. After order was restored, President Susan Bailey asked the question everyone feared. "Are they hostile?" Admiral Carter answered honestly. "We don't know, but we're preparing as if they might be." Earth had never faced a true alien threat before. There had been strange signals over the years, even a few unexplained sightings, but nothing confirmed. Now humanity had less than 2 weeks to prepare for its first contact with an alien civilization. Teams worked around the clock. Military forces were placed on high alert. The public was informed in careful stages to prevent panic. Some did panic anyway. Religious groups declared the end times. Others celebrated what they hoped would be humanity's welcome into a peaceful, galactic community. Lisa Gordon was assigned to lead the scientific team analyzing the approaching vessels. "They're slowing down in Earth orbit," she reported on day 11. "The largest ship has changed course and will enter our atmosphere tomorrow, Admiral." Carter ordered defensive systems ready but not active. "We show them we're prepared, but we don't make the first aggressive move," he told his officers. The next day, the alien ship hovered above the United Nations building in New York. It was enormous, at least 3 times larger than Earth's biggest aircraft carrier. It glowed with a faint blue light and made almost no sound. Millions watched on screens around the world as a smaller craft detached and descended to the specially prepared landing area. The craft opened, and they saw aliens, for the first time. They looked almost insect-like, walking on 4 legs with 2 arm-like limbs. Their skin was pale blue, and they wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor. Their leader stepped forward. "I am High Emissary Zartul of the Galactic Empire," it said, in perfect English. The voice was mechanical, clearly translated by some advanced technology. "We bring integration into the galactic community." President Bailey stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth. I am Susan Bailey, representing the United Earth Alliance." The alien seemed to study her. "We request immediate conference with your leaders to discuss terms of planetary acquisition." Those words sent a chill through everyone present. Acquisition. At the temporary diplomatic center established for the aliens, Admiral Carter watched as translator Samantha Mason worked. She had been analyzing the aliens' own language, which their translation devices occasionally used among themselves. "Sir," she said quietly to Carter, "their words don't match their actual communication. When they say integration, their own word is closer to assimilation or absorption." Carter's expression darkened. "Keep listening," he said. 3 days later, a meeting was arranged aboard the neutral space station Harmony, orbiting Earth. Admiral Carter, President Bailey, and Dr. Gordon represented Earth. High Emissary Zartul brought 3 Imperial officials. "Let us speak plainly," Zartul said once formalities were complete. "Your world has been catalogued as Resource Planet E3271. The Empire claims all resource planets as Imperial property." President Bailey leaned forward. "Earth belongs to humanity. We are a sovereign people." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Sovereignty is recognized only for civilizations with interstellar capabilities. You have barely reached your own moon." "What exactly are you proposing?" Admiral Carter asked, keeping his voice level. "Earth will be designated a protected resource world. Humans will be relocated to preservation zones comprising 20% of planetary surface area. Imperial corporations will manage the remaining territory for resource extraction." Dr. Gordon couldn't remain silent. "You're talking about confining us to reservations while you strip mine our planet." "A crude description, but essentially correct," said Zartul. "This is standard Imperial procedure. Resistance is unnecessary and ultimately futile. The Empire spans 8,000 worlds." President Bailey stood up. "We need to consult with our full government." "Of course," the alien said. "You have 3 Earth days to prepare for transition. We will begin landing settlement ships at that time." As they returned to Earth, Carter, Bailey, and Gordon were silent until they were sure they couldn't be monitored. "They're not here for diplomacy," Carter said. "This is an invasion with paperwork." "Can we fight them?" President Bailey asked. "Their technology is far beyond ours," Dr. Gordon said. "But I noticed something. They're overconfident. They didn't even scan our station for weapons or surveillance." Admiral Carter nodded. "They've done this before to worlds like ours. They don't expect real resistance." The emergency council meeting lasted through the night. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. The next day, Admiral Carter and Dr. Gordon returned to the space station alone. High Emissary Zartul seemed amused by their quick return. "You have accepted our terms?" Admiral Carter stood tall. "I'll be brief, Emissary. Earth is not for sale, lease, or colonization." "You misunderstand," Zartul said. "This is not a negotiation." "No," Carter replied firmly. "It isn't. Earth to Galactic Empire, access denied. You're not welcome here." The alien's eyes narrowed. "No primitive world has ever refused the Empire." "Then we're honored to be the first," Dr. Gordon said. As they turned to leave, Zartul called after them. "This defiance will cost your people dearly." Carter paused at the door. "That remains to be seen." Back on Earth, preparation for resistance had already begun. The Empire's response came within hours. 20 smaller ships moved into position around Earth, forming a perfect sphere of control. All satellite communications began to fail. Space stations reported jamming on all frequencies. No one could leave Earth and no messages could get out. "They've put us in a cage," Admiral Carter said as he watched the tactical display in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Navy Commander Jack Wilson stood beside him. At 42, Jack had spent his career planning for wars that never happened. Now he faced an enemy no one had imagined. "Sir, they want us to panic," Jack said. "That's why they're showing off their technology. They expect us to give up." Carter nodded. "What do you suggest, Commander?" "Let's use what they don't see," Jack replied. "They're watching our active systems, but what about the junk?" Earth's orbit contained thousands of pieces of space debris, old satellites, spent rocket stages, even tools dropped by astronauts. Most were considered useless. But Jack saw an opportunity. "They won't monitor what they think is trash," he explained. "We can use the old equipment to build a hidden network." Admiral Carter gave immediate approval. Jack assembled a team including engineers Olivia Reyes and Paul Griffin. They worked in an abandoned missile silo, safe from Empire detection. "We can reprogram these old communication satellites," Olivia said, her hands moving quickly over the equipment. "They use frequencies no one has used in decades." Paul nodded. "And we can bounce signals between debris pieces. It won't be fast, but it will get messages through." While they worked, the Empire began landing small teams on Earth. They looked almost human except for their pale blue skin. They wore special suits that made them appear completely human. They approached governments with offers of assistance. FBI agent Nicole Harmon first noticed something strange when she interviewed a new State Department advisor. His fingerprints didn't match his file. When questioned, he easily overpowered 2 guards before Nicole shot him. His blood was dark purple. "They're infiltrating our governments," she reported to her superiors. "And they can look exactly like us." Nicole recruited tech specialist Ryan Lewis to help identify the infiltrators. He discovered that the aliens gave off a faint radiation signature that special equipment could detect. "They're targeting our leadership," Nicole told Admiral Carter when they met in a secure room. "They want to take over without a fight." Carter asked, "How many have you found?" 17 so far, she answered. "All in positions of growing influence." "Find them all," Carter ordered. "But keep it quiet. Let them think we don't know." Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Gordon made a breakthrough. She had been studying the Empire's communications from her hidden lab. "Their technology is extremely advanced," she explained to Jack Wilson when he visited. "But it works on principles we've never explored. They use quantum frequencies that we considered useless background noise." Jack leaned forward. "Can we use that against them?" Lisa smiled for the first time in days. "Every system has weaknesses. Theirs ignores certain wavelengths because they consider them meaningless. But we could use those wavelengths to disrupt their systems." On the 60th day of the blockade, the Empire showed its frustration. Their main ship fired energy weapons at 3 unmanned orbital platforms, completely destroying them. Their message was broadcast on all Earth frequencies. This demonstration should clarify the consequences of continued defiance. "High Emissary," Zartul announced, "your leaders hide the truth. We have destroyed only unoccupied structures. The next targets will not be empty." The world watched in fear. Some nations considered surrender. But in the hidden command center, Earth's resistance grew stronger. Jack Wilson's network now connected resistance cells worldwide. Using reprogrammed space junk, they could communicate without the Empire knowing. Nicole Harmon's team had identified over 40 alien infiltrators, and Lisa Gordon had developed prototype devices that could interfere with Empire technology. "We need to test it," Lisa told Admiral Carter, holding up a small device. "But it might alert them to what we know." Carter considered this. "We need more than just defensive measures. We need to show them we can fight back." That's when Kelly Carter, the Admiral's daughter and a brilliant engineer, brought news from her research team. "The Empire isn't just here for territorial expansion," she explained, showing data on a secure tablet. Earth's oceans contain trace elements they value highly, much more valuable than they admitted. How do you know this? Her father asked. We captured data from one of their scout ships, Kelly explained. Their miners are already preparing extraction points in deep ocean locations. Admiral Carter's face hardened. So it's not just conquest, it's theft on a planetary scale. As they spoke, a technician rushed in. Sir, we're detecting massive energy buildups from the Empire fleet. They appear to be preparing for a larger attack. Carter looked at the worried faces around him. It's time, he said. He picked up a secure phone and gave an order he had hoped to delay. Activate Project Guardian. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility few knew existed, Director Marcus. Boyd received the call. He turned to his team. Begin the awakening sequence, he ordered. Giant machines hidden for decades hummed to life. They had been built using technology from an alien crash site discovered in the 1950s. For years, Earth's best scientists had studied and reverse-engineered the technology while keeping it secret from the public. The Guardian network consisted of 12 satellites in hidden orbits and 20 ground-based stations. They contained defensive capabilities far beyond anything humanity had ever revealed. As the systems came online, something unexpected happened. The Guardian technology began connecting with ancient devices buried deep within Earth itself. Devices no human had placed there. They had been waiting, dormant for thousands of years, for someone to activate them. In orbit, Empire ships detected energy signatures they had not anticipated. Inside their command vessel, High Emissary Zartol received urgent reports. Impossible, he said, looking at the data. This world cannot have this technology. He opened a communication channel to Earth. What have you activated? He demanded. Admiral Carter responded calmly. Just some old defense systems. Is there a problem, Emissary? For the first time, Zartol seemed uncertain. Where did you get this technology? Carter allowed himself a small smile. It appears we're not as primitive as you thought. The resistance had begun. The Guardian system lit up the night sky with a soft blue glow. People around the world looked up in wonder. Some feared it was an Empire attack, but government announcements explained it was Earth's defense system activating. In the Antarctic facility, Director Marcus Boyd watched in amazement as system after system came online. The original 12 Guardian satellites had awakened 36 more that had been hidden in deep orbit. No one knew who had put them there. Sir, the systems are communicating with each other, a technician reported. They're forming a network, more advanced than anything we designed. Marcus nodded. The crash site technology was only part of something much bigger. We're just turning the key to a lock someone else built. In the command center, Admiral Carter received new reports every minute. The Empire ships had pulled back, creating distance between themselves and the Guardian network. They recognize the technology, Lisa Gordon said. Look at their reaction. They're afraid of it. Jack Wilson studied the tactical display. Whatever these Guardians are, the Empire knows about them. But how, and why were they already here on Earth? Before anyone could answer, alarm sounded. The main Empire ship was moving. It positioned itself above the Pacific Ocean and launched smaller craft toward the water. What are they doing? Admiral Carter asked. Kelly Carter checked her readings. They're starting resource collection. The deep ocean minerals I mentioned, they're not waiting any longer. They're taking what they want. Carter's face hardened. Activate the Guardian defensive protocol. Across Earth, the Guardian systems responded. Energy fields extended from the satellites, creating a shimmering barrier around the planet. When Empire mining ships touched the barrier, their engines failed. They drifted helplessly until their own fleet retrieved them. High Emissary Zartol sent an immediate message. Your defensive measures violate Imperial law. Deactivate them, or face full military response. Admiral Carter didn't bother responding. Instead, he ordered the next phase of Earth's plan. In Nicole Harmon's FBI office, her team prepared to move against the infiltrators. They had identified 87 aliens in human disguise placed in governments around the world. Move on all targets simultaneously, she ordered. Don't give them time to warn each other. Within hours, the infiltrators were captured. Most surrendered. when confronted with the special detection devices Ryan Lewis had created. A few fought back and were killed. One, captured alive after a struggle, was brought to a secure facility for questioning. Nicole faced the alien across a table. With its disguise removed, its blue skin and large eyes made it look strange and threatening, but Nicole showed no fear. "Why is the Empire really here?" she asked. The alien remained silent. "We know about the ocean minerals," Nicole continued, "but that's not everything, is it? What makes Earth so special?" After a long pause, the alien spoke. "You don't even know what you're sitting on." At that moment, in orbit, the Empire lost patience. 20 warships moved into attack formation. Energy weapons powered up. Their message was short: surrender or be destroyed. In the Antarctic facility, Marcus Boyd received an alert. The Guardian systems were changing, evolving in response to the threat. New symbols appeared on the control screens, symbols no human had programmed. "It's like they're waking up," Marcus said to his team. "Whatever these systems are, they're doing more than we designed them to do." Admiral Carter gave the order. "Full defensive posture, prepare for attack." The Empire ships fired. Massive energy beams struck the Guardian shield. The shield absorbed the attacks, growing brighter with each hit. Then, something unexpected happened. The Guardian satellite sent energy pulses back toward the Empire ships, not attacking but disrupting their systems. Empire ships began losing power. Their weapons went offline. Communications failed. Several drifted out of formation, their engines dead. On the command ship, High Emissary Zartul watched in growing horror. "Impossible," he said. "This planet cannot have predecessor technology, they're animals." His second-in-command approached cautiously. "Emissary, we must consider retreat. If this is truly predecessor technology—" "No!" Zartul shouted. "The Empire does not retreat. Launch the ground forces, take the control centers. This resistance must end now." On Earth, Jack Wilson's network detected the new threat. Thousands of smaller craft were preparing to launch from the Empire ships. Invasion forces. "They're going to try a direct ground assault," Jack reported. "They're targeting major cities and military installations." Admiral Carter turned to Lisa Gordon. "Is your disruption technology ready?" Lisa nodded. "The prototypes work. The Empire ships use quantum frequencies our devices can jam, but we only have 50 units ready." "Deploy them to critical locations," Carter ordered. "Focus on government and military centers." As the invasion began, Empire landing craft entered Earth's atmosphere. They expected to find primitive defenses. Instead, they encountered Guardian fields that disabled their technology. Landing craft crashed. Those that made it through found their weapons useless against Lisa's jamming devices. In Washington, D.C., Nicole Harmon led a team defending the Capitol. When alien soldiers approached, their advanced weapons failed to fire. Human forces using conventional weapons drove them back. Similar scenes played out around the world. The Empire's technological advantage was neutralized. Their ground forces, never expecting to fight, retreated in disarray. In the captured alien's holding cell, the interrogation continued. Nicole pressed harder. "What did you mean we don't know what we're sitting on?" The alien looked at her with a mixture of fear and respect. "This planet was marked as prohibited territory thousands of years ago, by the ones the Empire still fears." "Who?" Nicole demanded. "The predecessors," the alien said. "The most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. They vanished 10,000 years ago, but their technology remains. Technology like your Guardians." Nicole leaned forward. "What does that have to do with humans?" The alien's expression changed. "You truly don't know? Examine your Guardian technology. See who it responds to." Back at the Antarctic facility, Marcus Boyd made a startling discovery. "The Guardian systems respond differently to different people," he reported to Admiral Carter. "They recognize human DNA, but some humans get stronger responses than others." Dr. I. Gordon analyzed the pattern. "It's like the technology is looking for specific genetic markers. It recognizes certain humans as authorized users." In orbit, the Empire fleet regrouped. Their first assault had failed. but they prepared for a second attack. More ships arrived from deeper space. The Empire was committing more forces to subdue. Earth High Emissary Zartul received a secure transmission from the Imperial High Command. The message was simple. Confirm status of predecessor technology. If confirmed, destroy planet immediately. No traces can remain. Zartul's hand hovered over the control panel. The order was clear, but something held him back. If this truly was predecessor technology, could it even be destroyed? On Earth, as the Guardian systems continued to evolve, Admiral Carter realized a terrifying truth. This wasn't just a battle for Earth's freedom. It might be a battle for humanity's survival. Admiral Carter called an emergency meeting of Earth's defense leaders. Representatives from 20 nations gathered in the underground command center. The situation had grown more complex than anyone had imagined. The Empire is bringing in reinforcements, Jack Wilson reported. Our orbital sensors detect at least 30 new ships arriving in the outer solar system. Lisa Gordon displayed her latest findings on the main screen. We've analyzed data from the Guardian systems. They're not just defensive technology. They're scanning devices, communication networks, and something else we don't understand yet. Marcus Boyd added, the systems are responding to human interaction. When humans operate the controls, the technology becomes more effective. It's like the system recognizes us. Admiral Carter nodded. Which brings us to the most important question. What did the captured alien mean about predecessors, and what is our connection to them? Kelly Carter had been working with a team analyzing the Guardian technology. She stepped forward. We found something in the Guardian code. It contains genetic markers that match human DNA, but not exactly. It's looking for specific patterns. What kind of patterns? Her father asked. Ancient ones, Kelly replied. It's like the technology is searching for humans with genetic connections to whoever built it. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Could humans be connected to an ancient advanced civilization, one that the mighty Empire feared? The meeting was interrupted by an alert. On the main screen, they watched as Empire ships began a new approach. This time, they stayed beyond the range of the Guardian disruption fields. General William Scott of the Air Force pointed to the display. They're launching something, too small for our sensors to identify. Probes, Lisa suggested. They're testing our defenses. Thousands of tiny objects entered Earth's atmosphere. The Guardian system responded immediately, creating localized shields around major cities and military installations. But the objects weren't weapons. They were communication devices. Every screen on Earth suddenly displayed the same message from High Emissary Zartul. People of Earth, your leaders have endangered you by activating forbidden technology. The predecessor devices are unstable and will ultimately destroy your world. Surrender now and the Empire will save those who can be saved. They're trying to turn the public against us, Nicole Harmon said as she watched the broadcast. Admiral Carter's expression was grim. Because their weapons failed, they're trying psychological warfare. In cities around the world, some people began to protest, demanding the government surrender to save lives. Others stood firm, trusting their leaders. Earth was divided. In the Antarctic facility, Marcus Boyd made a breakthrough. The Guardian system has a data core we couldn't access before. It's opening now, responding to the increased threat. On his screen, strange symbols flowed. The computer translated them slowly. It's a message, Marcus said in awe. From the predecessors. Admiral. Carter ordered the message sent to the command center. Everyone watched as the translation appeared. To our descendants, if you access this message, you face the Empire. They seek what we hide. You are our children, modified to survive Earth's evolution while our civilization's legacy waits in sleep. The Guardians will recognize you. They will serve you. You are the rightful heirs. Lisa read the message twice. We're not just natives of Earth. We're descendants of the predecessors genetically modified to survive while their technology remained hidden. Jack Wilson shook his head in disbelief. They hid their technology on Earth and changed themselves. to look like primitive natives, the perfect hiding place from the Empire. But why? Kelly asked. What were they hiding from? Before anyone could answer, new alarms sounded. The Empire had launched its full attack. Hundreds of warships moved toward Earth. The Guardian system responded, extending its protective field to maximum strength. General Scott studied the tactical display. They're concentrating firepower on specific points, trying to punch through our shields. Divert Guardian power to those locations, Admiral Carter ordered. The battle in space was unlike anything humans had imagined. Empire ships fired weapons that distorted space itself. The Guardian shields absorbed most impacts but began to weaken in some areas. On the ground, people watched the sky change colors as energy discharges lit up the atmosphere. Many prayed, some prepared for the end. But Earth's defenders worked tirelessly. In her lab, Lisa Gordon made an important discovery. The Guardian technology isn't just responding to us, it's changing us. The systems are activating dormant parts of our DNA. What does that mean? Admiral Carter asked over the secure line. It means we're becoming more like the predecessors, Lisa explained. The technology is finishing what they started. In orbit, the Empire Fleet Commander, General Cravash, grew frustrated. Our weapons should have broken through by now. What's happening? His science officer replied nervously. The Guardian field is adapting to our attacks. It's learning our patterns. This is beyond any predecessor technology we've encountered before. Impossible, Cravash growled. This is a primitive world. Sir, the science officer hesitated. What if it's not? What if this is the predecessor, homeworld? The suggestion was so shocking that Cravash nearly struck the officer. But something about the theory explained the unexplainable. On Earth, the Guardian system continued to evolve. Those working directly with the technology reported strange experiences, increased intuition, faster learning, and even limited telepathic connections with each other. Jack Wilson's hidden communication network expanded beyond Earth orbit, tapping into ancient relay stations hidden in the asteroid belt. Suddenly, Earth could monitor Empire communications throughout the solar system. They're arguing among themselves, Jack reported. Some want to retreat immediately. Others want to destroy Earth completely. Admiral Carter knew they needed to push their advantage. It's time to go on the offensive. Can we adapt our ships to use Guardian technology? Kelly Carter had already been working on the problem. We've modified 3 spacecraft with Guardian shields and disruption fields. They're ready for launch. Who will pilot them? Carter asked. Jack Wilson stepped forward. I will lead the mission, sir. The 3 modified ships launched secretly from a hidden base in the Rockies. They carried Earth's best pilots armed with technology humans barely understood. Jack felt the weight of responsibility as his ship left the atmosphere. As they approached the Empire fleet, Jack activated the Guardian systems. His ship seemed to come alive around him, responding to his thoughts as much as his controls. Remember, he told his pilots, we're not trying to destroy them. We want to show them we can fight back, force them to negotiate. The Empire detected the approaching Earth ships too late. Jack's squadron slipped through their formation, Guardian fields disrupting Imperial systems as they passed. Empire ships lost weapons, engines, and communications in cascading failures. On the Imperial command ship, General Cravash watched in horror as 3 tiny Earth vessels crippled his fleet's most powerful warships. Full retreat, he ordered. Get us out of Guardian range. As the Empire ships pulled back, Earth celebrated its first victory. But Admiral Carter knew the war was far from over. The Empire would return with new tactics in greater numbers. In the Antarctic facility, Marcus Boyd continued to decipher the predecessor message. The final section was now translating, Our greatest technologies lie buried beneath the surface, awaiting your awakening. When you are ready, you will find the star map. It will guide you to the worlds we once called home. Reclaim your inheritance, children of Earth. As Marcus read these words, deep beneath the oceans, ancient machines began to stir. Earth's awakening had only just begun. 3 weeks passed after Earth's first victory. The Empire fleet had withdrawn to the edge of the solar system, but everyone knew they would return. Earth used this time to prepare. Jack Wilson became a hero after leading the successful counterattack. Now he worked with engineers to modify more ships with Guardian technology. 20 vessels were being prepared in hidden bases around the world. The Guardian systems bond better with each pilot, Jack explained to Admiral Carter. It's like they learn our thought patterns. Lisa Gordon confirmed this observation. The technology is symbiotic. It adapts to the user, and the user adapts to it. In the Antarctic facility, Marcus Boyd made the most important discovery yet. We found a complete star map in the Guardian database, he reported. It shows hundreds of worlds that were once part of the predecessor civilization. The map revealed a startling truth. The predecessors had controlled most of the galaxy before they disappeared. Many worlds now claimed by the Empire had once belonged to them. This changes everything, Admiral Carter said. We're not just defending Earth. We're reclaiming a legacy. High Emissary Zartul requested a direct communication with Earth's leaders. The signal came from his command ship, still orbiting Mars. You have discovered your heritage, Zartul said without preamble. Now you understand why the Empire fears you. President Susan Bailey responded. We understand that you invaded a world that wasn't yours to take. The predecessors abandoned the galaxy 10,000 years ago, Zartul countered. They left chaos. The Empire brought order. And now the predecessors' descendants have awakened, Admiral Carter added. Which clearly terrifies you. Zartul's expression hardened. The Imperial Council has made its final decision. You have 2 Earth days to surrender and disable all Guardian technology. After that, we will destroy this planet rather than allow predecessor technology to spread again. The transmission ended. Earth's leaders gathered to plan their response. Can they actually destroy Earth? President Bailey asked. General Scott nodded grimly. Our intelligence suggests they have planet-killer weapons. The question is whether our Guardian shields can stop them. Kelly Carter had been quiet during the meeting, working calculations on her tablet. She finally spoke. I think I know a way to end this without more fighting. Everyone turned to her. The Empire fears the Guardian technology spreading, Kelly explained. What if we showed them it already has? Jack Wilson immediately understood. The communication network, we can broadcast through it. Kelly nodded. Not just to the Empire fleet, to the entire galaxy. The plan took shape quickly. Kelly and Ryan Lewis would hack into the Empire's main communication network using the ancient relay stations in the asteroid belt. They would broadcast evidence of Earth's heritage across the galaxy, including to worlds suffering under Imperial rule. The Empire rules through fear and technology, Kelly said. What happens when other worlds learn they might have predecessor heritage too? That they might awaken their own Guardian systems? As Kelly and Ryan prepared the broadcast, the Empire fleet began moving toward Earth. Hundreds of ships formed attack position. Their planet-killer weapon, a massive cannon capable of cracking a world in half, began powering up. Admiral Carter deployed Earth's modified ships to protect key positions. The Guardian shield expanded to maximum power. Everyone knew this would be the final battle. In orbit, General Cravache received his orders from the Imperial High Command. Destroy Earth immediately. No survivors. Cravache hesitated. Such an action would be unprecedented. The Empire conquered worlds, exploited them, but rarely destroyed them completely. Sir, his science officer said quietly, if the predecessors truly left their legacy on Earth, destroying the planet may trigger failsafes we cannot predict. Cravache knew this was true. The predecessors' technology was legendary for its self-preservation protocols. But orders were orders. Begin primary firing sequence, he commanded. Earth, Kelly, and Ryan completed their work. We're ready to broadcast, Kelly told her father. Admiral Carter gave the order. Do it now. The ancient relay stations activated, boosting Earth's signal across vast distances. The broadcast began with a simple message. To all worlds of the galaxy. We are Earth, homeworld of the predecessors. We have awakened. The signal carried data proving Earth's claims, genetic markers, Guardian technology schematics, and a simplified version of the star map showing former predecessor worlds. In the Empire fleet, Communication systems suddenly carried Earth's broadcast to every ship. Crew members saw the evidence. Many recognized their own worlds on the star map. Across the galaxy, subjugated planets received the message. On hundreds of worlds, people learned they might be connected to the legendary predecessors. Hope spread, where the Empire had crushed it for centuries. General Cravash watched in horror as his own crew began questioning their mission. "Continue the attack," he ordered. But the planet killer weapon shut down unexpectedly. His weapons officer reported, "Sir, the firing systems are not responding. Something is interfering with the controls." On dozens of Empire ships, similar problems occurred. Systems failed. Some vessels lost power completely. High Emissary Zartul contacted Cravash in panic. "What's happening to our fleet?" "It appears," Cravash said slowly, "that some of our own ships have Guardian technology embedded in them, dormant until now." The revelation stunned Zartul. The predecessors hadn't just hidden on Earth. They had hidden their technology throughout the galaxy, even within the Empire's own ships. The Imperial Council sent an emergency order. "All ships, withdraw immediately. Do not engage Earth forces." As the Empire fleet retreated, Earth celebrated. For the first time, humans looked to the stars not as a distant frontier, but as their birthright. 1 week later, ships from 5 other worlds arrived in Earth orbit. They came peacefully, seeking alliance with the predecessor homeworld. Each had awakened their own Guardian systems after receiving Earth's broadcast. Admiral Carter, Lisa Gordon, and Jack Wilson met with the representatives of these worlds on the space station Harmony. The visitors looked different from humans. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms. One species had fur, but genetic testing confirmed they all shared predecessor DNA. "The Empire is in chaos," the representative from Proxima Centauri reported. "Many worlds are declaring independence. Some Imperial ships have even joined the rebellion after discovering they contain Guardian technology." Admiral Carter addressed the gathering. "The predecessors left their legacy scattered across the galaxy, hiding from some ancient threat. Now we, their descendants, must unite to reclaim what was lost," Lisa Gordon added, "and to prepare for whatever caused the predecessors to hide in the first place." As the meeting concluded, Jack Wilson delivered Earth's formal message to the retreating Imperial fleet. "Earth to Galactic Empire. Access denied. You're not welcome here. And neither is your empire welcome on any world that chooses freedom." On Earth, Kelly Carter activated the complete star map discovered within the Guardian network. Hundreds of pinpoints of light appeared, showing worlds once part of the predecessor civilization, worlds now waiting for humanity's return. Marcus Boyd stood beside her, watching the map with wonder. "The predecessors didn't disappear," he said. "They transformed themselves and went into hiding. They became us." Kelly nodded. "And now we're becoming them again." As Earth prepared to take its first steps beyond the solar system, the Guardian systems continued to awaken more dormant technology. Ancient ships rose from ocean depths. Hidden facilities opened in mountain ranges. Knowledge long forgotten became available again. Humanity stood on the threshold of a new era. They were no longer just inhabitants of Earth. They were the heirs of the stars, returning to reclaim their cosmic inheritance. The Empire had wanted Earth for its resources. Instead, they had awakened the descendants of the most powerful civilization the galaxy had ever known, a civilization that was now ready to return.